Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's live webinar. I'm Dr. 𝐂𝐯𝐞𝐧𝐭, and we have a special episode today. And we're going to be talking about AI. And I have a special guest, and you probably know Carl Schoenfeld, and he's an award-winning screenplay writer and works in University of Oxford, and as well as in BAFTA and all other film institutes. And we wanted to talk about today AI in films. And he's in Cannes, so it's a pleasure to invite him as a guest and talk about actually from Cannes. So just give me a second. I will just add him to the stage and we start from there. So hello, Carl. How are you today?
Very well. I managed to get into a really interesting event. There's an AI summit here at the Cannes Film Festival, which is quite exclusive. So you can, there's tens of thousands of filmmakers from all over the world here, and right next to me, you can actually hear in the background people pitching to investors, their AI companies. And I'm one of 100 people who've been selected to participate in that AI summit. I didn't know that it coincides with the pitches, but now I promise to be here. So and as you can see, it's not a bad place to be. So I'm very glad that we could arrange it, and I can maybe tell you a little bit about what's happening here.
It is gonna be great to discuss about the settings first. As you know, we are broadcasting it to social medias, and people wanted to know about you. So if you could give set the scenario first, like tell a bit more about you, why you are in Cannes, and actually how this program will contribute to the viewers greatly.
Well, the reason why I'm in Cannes is, on the one hand, I'm leading, facilitating a group of Irish filmmakers and producers who come to Cannes for the first time, and Screen Ireland asked me to sort of help them to prepare properly. Those people, they're good storytellers, they're good networkers, so I'm working with them just to make sure when they arrive here and go to films and have meetings with other filmmakers and producers, that they're a bit better prepared, because that's what everybody appreciates. It's expensive to be here, so when people have meetings, they appreciate if people are well prepared. And I've been coming to Cannes for on and off for 30 years, so I can help them. And first time I was here is probably 30 years ago. The film industry is a lot more accessible here. 30 years ago, I was able to speak to the director, Wim Wenders, for half an hour, um, on this very beach, actually. So um, you always find people who are usually hard to connect to because they're very busy, it's very competitive, who can be quite available here. So that's why we're here. And as we're talking about artificial intelligence, that's just sort of plowing through the film and television industry, and changing everything. So that's why I think it's very good to come here and understand how do different people deal with that. How do people work with AI successfully? What does it mean legally? What does it mean for film as a culture? What does it mean for film as a business, and so on? So that's what we've been talking about over the last few days, quite a lot. So and here's really the place to be, because this is a world's premiere festival and people come from over the world to talk about the projects they want to make and celebrate great films.
I totally agree with you, Carl, because I would say, starting was the film school that you taught. And from there, like last 25 years, the film and all other things has shifted huge, huge. Yesterday, I was in Big C and someone was talking about, the film, The Tariff with USA, and you have to pay a highest tariff on film industry. And they are talking about, okay, how you could manage this, because the film industry dynamics is not very easy. It's difficult because you got actor from some countries, actress from some countries, crew member
Mm.
from some countries, and the set and all other things is multidimensional. So when you produce a film that hasn't got a geographical boundaries, so you can utilize AI on that to solve some problems, but you know you understand things with AI, how you can do, and still it's growing and developing. So we're going to be jump into more on AI talk. But before that, can you share a settings like why you are very much interested now to talk about AI and how it will evolve in the future?
Well, I actually struck up a relationship with a company called Largo AI.
Mhm.
Ooh, that was even before the pandemic. So um, 6 years ago, and I've been working for them on and off as a um, a consultant, and they've actually been doing a great presentation here. There's one of the biggest events here is the Largo AI AI enhanced pitches. So I'm sort of working with them, and Sami, their CEO, was actually giving a keynote here earlier. When we started, 1% of people were working with AI. Now, when he asked the whole audience, everybody is working with AI now in some shape or form, including generative AI. So you see that this has quite an impact. And I think the problem that we have at the moment is that a lot of the AI happens under the radar. Some of you may have heard about it. The Brutalist was a film that was very much competing for the in the Oscars, and it had some negative publicity
Mhm.
about using AI to enhance the Hungarian accent of the lead actor Adrian Brody. And I mean, the talk was that some voters wanted to resist AI, wanted to resist that, and that many people believe
Mhm.
has damaged the film's chances to get an Oscar.
Mhm.
So that is one of many stories why people are very careful about talking about their use of AI. Certainly, there are companies like Netflix and Amazon who say, "Oh, we don't want any AI in any of this because of that." So a lot of AI use happens under the radar.
Mhm.
So when people don't talk about it publicly, but when you talk to people here one to one, people are more forthcoming. I'm supporting also here all sorts of events that bring more transparency to it, because I think doing everything under the radar is damaging for the sort of whole culture of the industry. So to talk more about what should we do, why should we do it, what are the ethics of it, what is good practice, and so on, will be much better for us as an industry. But yeah, I mean, as you see, there are dark forces against it. So, and I think it's important that I'm sort of part of that discussion and can share that with you here as well, because some of you will look into AI, maybe to help you with a beat sheet, maybe to help you with an outline, and so on. And that's what a lot of screenwriters do. Even I've seen even now some great work. I mean, it's been I was always a bit um, careful. I wasn't easily convinced of generative AI trailers or proof of concepts, But I'd encourage anybody to look out for the work of Tiffany Lee Joseph, who's done really great work with a purpose and something that wouldn't be done if it wasn't for generative AI. So you see people punching through, and that's what I'm really interested in AI. That it can enable people, new voices, who so far wouldn't be able to make a film, to sort of to show their film here, to tell their story, that with the help of AI, maybe just as an educational tool, in the first instance, the safest way as an education tool to test things, to learn things, to then write scripts and make films that look good enough for people to watch it on the big screen and so on. And so, if AI can be used to assist those underrepresented voices, to punch through and get attention and do a proper film that's exciting and moving and funny, then we're using the technology very much for good.
That's a great conversation, and thank you, Carl, to arrange this live with our audience, because there are going to be some lives from Cannes Film Festivals, so on. But it is a great pleasure to organize these lives with you and bring Cannes to our audience. So my next question to you would be, as an AI specialist myself, we work with data, we work with generative AI and a lot of other things. We also utilize AI to create stories, little bit shorts and a lot of other things. It's been very good because when you don't have funding, one thing, and manpower, another thing, and you wanted to produce creative things, I think, as you discussed earlier, it can give a base for innovative filmmakers to work through it. And maybe we use storyboards. Okay, so when you can
Mm.
have a storyboard created with AI, that will help the filmmaker or the director or producer to understand, okay, how depth the film is, how it can be shot in a way to produce a good quality films. So in relation with generative AI, and as well as the barrier now, uh, what do you think it would be the best practice? Because you don't want it to AI to capture our industry, rather than okay, letting all the actors and actresses take away their acting bit. What do you think it will play in the future, generative
Uh,
AI and engaging people together?
yeah, I think it will be a long time for AI to deliver any convincing performances. And there's actually, I've been part of discussions here. There's so many intricacies to the human face. And that's how we recognize each other and evaluate each other, is very much by the face and by the eyes. Sort of like dogs do it by smell, we do it by looking at somebody's face. So that's why faces are so important in our culture and all the communication. Just to give you a few examples, there's just sort of little muscle movements just as I speak, and how whatever my scruffy beard moves and so on. The transparency of the skin, because there's some opacity of the skin, that really shows a little bit the layers underneath. All that stuff is so complex that we are a while away
Mhm.
from AI to recreate, at least sort of one of the award-winning performances. So let's say, certainly in the sort of midterm, we will always, even if we do something on a different planet, I have a script set on a different planet and so on, we will need actors' performances
Mhm.
to feed that into any AI process. And then some of you may have seen, that kind of movement, that kind of performance is then captured, being fed into a computer. You've seen maybe, that's sort of from Lord of the Rings onwards, you can look at videos how actors wear face masks with different sort of little white balls and even a bodysuit that captures an actor's performances. And I think we'll be doing that kind of stuff for a while, because that will sort of bring the heart of the performance digitized into the computer, and then we can add other visuals and so on to that. And I think even more important is that, sort of related to the performance, is the intention. I think there is nothing that AI can do really. If you grown up somewhere in Africa, in the slums, in working class northern UK, India, and so on, and you want to really tell the story of your community, what it feels like to be me. And you look at all the sort of, the great films, they always have that creative intention, a very coherent creative intention of saying, I want to tell you my story, what it's like to be in this situation, and sort of share that humanity. It's my experience, but I can, the filmmaker's talent is, I can open with my film the doors to that world, so that other people in very different circumstances can join in and understand that experience. And that's not something that AI can ever do. I think it can, at various stages, it can do a lot to help people in that position, to maybe share their story in a way that other audience can get it and want to embrace it. But that intention, why we tell stories, that's something that is uniquely human. You can see it almost defines us as human. The great acting teacher, Russian acting teacher Konstantin Sergeyevich Stanislavski, who worked a lot also in Hollywood and influenced a lot of Hollywood actors, he said something that's very important when we look at this. Are you in love with the art in yourself, or of yourself in the art? Are you in love with the art in yourself, or yourself in the art? And I think that really shows us, if you have that love of the art in yourself, then you can do something heartfelt with all the tools. If it's just about you having an interesting job, an interesting role, lots of people, just being here, then AI will distract you, and it will be a tyranny of choice, and it will be quite a torturous process for you to make anything. So it's really about loving the art of cinema in yourself.
That's a great explanation, Carl, and I'm very fascinated to see the background as well, because you are from Cannes and you're talking about, and I can see the people movements and all of the things behind the screen. That's a great scene. Uh, if we talk about more into like, okay, how you add value. We talk about the screenwritings and talk
Mm.
about training the future screenwriters. How you'd put value the innovative screenwriters. They wanted to work on AI and get it steered to the next levels.
Mm. Then you really need to, and that sort of picks up from my last answer. You need to understand really what you want to get across. Sort of what we call in our workshops and in the coaching, we call it the premise. What is maybe a question or an observation about life that you want to share? I mean, one of the famous premises: can men and women be just friends? Can it be, without romance, without sexuality? Can we just sort of really be friends, like in Harry Met Sally? And there's a lot of other films. Wall-E, has got that premise, or Black Mirror about explores the relationship between us humans and technology, which is very much our subject here. So to have a premise of what you want to express, and I think that the basic two the legs you stand on, is about you having that premise very clear, what it is, but you also have got that love of the art. You look at a lot of films. You don't look at every film. Maybe you've got a particular genre. Maybe you've got two or three directors you follow. Maybe Studio Ghibli or Disney or something like this. You've got your corner in that art, but you know that very well. You've got a great love for it, and I think that without you having that love for the art, it's very difficult. It becomes very difficult. It's something that can be nurtured and developed, but I can't say anything that will create that love of the art inside you. I can maybe point you to look at a particular film that's relevant to your work, and you can feel it when you watch that film. Oh, it feels like a handshake. It feels like an embrace from a long lost friend, but it's a filmmaker who lived in a completely different age in a different country. Or maybe you don't like that film, then we talk about other films and so on. But it's that love of the art and your premise, the two things that will drive your story forward. And that will even, the premise, is something that helps the director where to put the camera. William Friedkin talked about it on The Exorcist, that they had this idea in The Exorcist that fear, and this being a horror film, that fear is not what's in front of us. It's
Hmm.
actually what's behind us. And that really ruled every decision. If you've got a premise, every creative decision you make, you can say, what is the premise saying about that? And every scene you look at, what does it do to move the premise forward or move the premise backward or give us a different idea of the premise? If it doesn't do that, the scene goes out. And even when there's us where to put the camera, there's lots of people in The Exorcist who are turning around just because they're nervous about what might be behind me. And it's true, it's not the monsters that we are afraid of, it's not vampires, it's uncertainty. What might be behind us? And there's a great psychological wisdom in that sometimes can be very easy to forget. So we make films to remind us of these truths that are so essential but so easily forgotten.
Oh, Ken, Carl, is a great explanation. Thank you very much. And to all the audience, thank you very much for joining today's live broadcasting from Cannes Film Festival. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, and I have Karen Schoenfeld, and we're going to be talking about AI and filmmaking. So we have more questions. And if you wanted to ask us any question, we have limited time today. So uh, let's see how time goes and how much time Carl can contribute today. But we will continue this conversation until we end this program. So my next question to you, Carl. Yes, we talk about generative AI, we talk about our emotion, we talk about filmmaking all together in the readiness stage, as you mentioned earlier, that Amazon and all other big film producer, they are not prioritizing AI to be part of their workflow. So in that region, do you have any suggestion to the indie filmmaker, like okay, how they can steer their growth and how they can actually attract individual producer to get to the next levels?
I think it's, the first thing is know your kind of area, whether it's horror or romance or television or so on. Know that area really well because that's what people respect here. If they have take a meeting with you and you've seen their films, and you've seen all the films that influence them and so on, then they see your passion. So that's something that that's something that you start years before the meeting because you don't want to watch whatever 20 hours of movie just before one meeting. So it really needs to come from the love of the art. But you don't have to come straight here. There are lots of little film festivals. There are film commissions all over the world. I mean, I don't know if you can see all the tents sort of here in the background that go alongside the beach. They're all different countries. There's India, there's Korea, there's of course Ireland, Britain, US has got a big pavilion and so on. Um, All countries have got a film funding organization. They've got lots of regions have little film commissions and so on. This networking, I used to run a networking organization in Oxford for a while and join these things. Go to little film festivals just so that you start being in a queue or being in a bar with some filmmakers and you can talk to them about what you liked about their film or didn't like it or so, and have a conversation. So you work your way up sort of through the little film festivals. And I'm saying, always do a bit of face to face. There's a lot of, you can engage with filmmakers on social media. I mean, of course, the people who I hear in competition, they won't necessarily respond to you and so on. They've got, thousands or millions of followers. But, if you watch a film in a little film festival, short films and so on, if you write that filmmaker a little note through their website or through their social media and, are very complimentary about what they do, that's also, you can also develop um, um, relationships to filmmakers through this social media. I've seen that happening even with students of mine who talk to great producers and got then internships or got a script read by them and got an opinion and so on. That's all possible. I mean, one of the people I went to uh, uh, film school with. He came to Cannes and got £5,000 to write his script. He was really good at pitching. So these things happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen.
Hmm. I totally agree with you, because you have to have a vision, as you said earlier,
Mm,
to in an extent how what you wanted to do and how you wanted
mm,
to reach there is a normal thing. When you have a vision and when you have a script and you want that script to go to the next levels. I have
mm,
seen that in recent days. Yesterday there was a
mm,
documentary talking about on BBC, as I'm
mm,
a great BBC watcher, and talking about the film of the tornado. Okay, and it was like very famous. The person risked his life to get filmed in the tornado, and he captured everyone's eyes. Like, okay, someone is producing a thing from the tornado to get it to the public. So YouTube and social media are very key levels nowadays. So, do you have any suggestion to the indie filmmaker? They if they wanted to their film to be seen by directors or producers or industry, will they use social media to maybe build a synopsis, something like that, and then go to the next levels? What would be the best practice nowadays?
well, it always depend. It's always depend because different parts of the industry. That's why I'm saying, it's something you need to learn about different parts of the industries. And also different individuals within a company have got different preferences. Some people, are more LinkedIn or Instagram and so on. So that's some other, some are still on Facebook and so on. So that's that's all quite different. I mean, I suppose you need in your approach, you need to show your imagination. I mean, if you can do a blog or website around your film, and that's certainly, if you attract a lot of attention to that film, then that's certainly something that film festivals like. So if you then approach a festival and you've already got a lot of followers, a lot of people interacting with your story in a sort of social media kind of way, festivals like that, and then you quickly rise to the top. You've got much more an advantage as compared to somebody who just has a film and that's all. So and that's again where you need to do your research. Look at what other filmmakers have done in order to get social media attraction around their work, around their past work, around their approach as a filmmaker. Impact is very important here. There's lots of events around impact, sort of, to think about, what do our films do to society, representation, sustainability, diversity, and so on. So, if you can find an imaginative way to talk about that, that all sort of lifts you up, and it also lifts up your film, that people will be interested to see, oh, that's an interesting voice in a blog or on social media, in a podcast. Where does it come from?
That's a great explanation, Carl. We are nearly 30 minutes. As we said, we're going to be limiting
Mhm.
this discussion. Do you have a little bit more time to maybe answer one or two
Yeah,
questions,
yeah. One,
or
one or two
do you want?
questions. One of the things that I'm a bit worried about, because I can't see it, is the level of my battery. Because because I can't actually see the screen here because of the glare. So I'm at the moment, I'm sort of kind of praying that, we're not in the red yet. So I don't want to sort of, in case I'm just go dark, it's not because I don't care, or I just saw somebody important on that sofa in front of me. It will be because technology has its limitations.
That's okay, Carl. So I'm just going to do another two questions. Another questions related to AI. You have joined some of the talks in Cannes
Mm,
Festival related to AI. What's the mood over there? Like, you have negativity,
mm.
positivity, or okay thing. What are the mood there for growing AI space on film?
Um, I think it's still quite hesitant, and that's what I mentioned earlier on. Also, there's a lot going on under the radar. It's sort of a bit like talking about AI. It's a bit like porn. If that's not too radical a point of view to take. I mean, because everybody says, they don't watch it, but how come that half the internet is made up of it? I mean, that just doesn't compute. And sort of likewise, it's about the attitude AI. Here that, that people, everybody knows it's going on, and there's few places sort of like here, where people are actually happy to have, usually sort of the best conversations one to one about it, and but there's also, and that's what I think where a lot of our listeners here come in, there's also, really positive case studies with filmmakers coming out of nowhere and doing some really interesting stuff, and they wouldn't be talked about here in Cannes if they hadn't spent months, learning the different platform, what they're good for, and then creating something that people find compelling. So I think AI definitely is something where people always want to learn more about, and you putting some compelling work in front of them is certainly a way to get their attention. I think sort of something that might clarify, but I was around some of the work that I produced was in the first digital revolution, when people were uh, for the first time making films with very small cameras. I mean, for 100 years, people made films with very big cameras that were very heavy, and so on. And suddenly, you could make a film with a small camera. And I went to lots of festivals where I was on panels where people asked me, "Oh, how do you do how do you do a really great movie?" With a small camera like that. So I noticed during that digital transition that for many years, filmmakers said, "Oh, I'm a filmmaker. I do film with sprocket holes on the side. I don't do that video stuff." And people were quite arrogant. But then the change happened, you could say, within months. During the
Mhm.
film era, there's lots of big factory halls outside London where all the film that's being shot in the UK was being processed. So big factories, and within months, those factory halls were empty. And now you
Mhm.
have to go to a little industrial estate in Park Royal in order to get any film processed, because it's only for art house filmmakers and maybe some special adverts and so on that use film. So what I'm saying is, when that change comes, that gonna happen very, very quickly. So that's why I say, so at the moment, be prepared, learn about the things, maybe use it to position yourself with that. Uh, um, but if people are hesitant, that's just what the industry is like. If they change, everybody will turn around at once.
Thank you, Carl. The last questions is about preparation for the next year. So, what would you suggest to the innovative AI filmmakers to think about next year if they wanted to join Cannes? What is your suggestion on that, and how they could involve with you to prepare for next year?
Well, certainly you want to be prepared. There's sort of lots of websites and blogs that explain a little bit about that. If you're targeting particular meetings, if you're be clear about your goals, see who's sort of working here in that area. And then I also do I do workshops, 100 pages in 10 weeks, which helps you to just make your script a bit clearer, more compelling. We do coaching, we do script development, where we can work much more individually to fine tune what is the intention and how far do you have a project or several projects, that really clarify how you back up that intention and how do you make that work. Start early. That's why, start early. What kind of producers, film festivals, organizations, companies you want to target, and start early. Build up that relationship. I mean, starting soon, actually, so that you find these people, you interact on social media, so that when you have got that social media relationship, let's say next April, and they see you're doing a lot of work to promote them, and then you message them directly or through their office and say, hey, I'm going to go to Cannes. I know you always go. Would you kindly have some advice? Maybe a short phone call before. That's always good. Rather than say, buy my project, read my script, just make the commitment small. Just have a little hook. Just give me a little bit of advice, because everybody who's around here knows we're only here because some people gave us a leg up. So, that's why somebody has helped us. So we know sometimes we need to pay back a little. So hopefully, by you having a very well structured approach, very targeted, because what you work on is relevant also to them, they might take the time, give you 20 minutes of advice. Maybe they're also, if they like what they hear, maybe they even read your script and so on, and invite you to their party and so on. That's how I got to my first parties.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you, everyone. And there is an announcement today as well, because Carl gonna be joining me with Alex Dikofa on Saturday, 10:30. So we're gonna be
Mm,
talking more about film and
mm,
indie film, and continue this
mm,
conversation to the next level. So, Carl, it is a pleasure,
mm,
and thank you for joining today's
mm,
live broadcasting.
mm,
And I will welcome you on Saturday, 10:30. So please set the time on your
mm,
timer. Saturday, 10:30. We're going to be talking with Carl and
mm,
Alex Dikofa. Those you don't
mm,
know about Alex Dikofa, you can go to imdb.com and you can find details about
mm,
him and his films and all other things. So we just wanted to end the program and live
mm.
today before Carl's battery
Yeah,
run out, and I don't want it to
yeah.
keep you anymore. Do you have any last minute observation
Yeah,
or
if you want to work with
thing to
us,
share?
of course, go to our website, onlinescreenwritingacademy.com. There's my email there, and there's a sort of Calendly. Of course, the next couple of weeks, it's not easy for me to meet with everyone, but there are lots of dates later. I look forward to hear about your story and how we can make that work. How can we bring that a bit closer to be turned into a film or television series?
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's live broadcast. And I will talk to you with Cole and Alex
Mm.
Digufa on Saturday,
Mm.
10:30. Until then, stay tuned, be blessed. Bye-bye. And Cole, enjoy your time on Cannes.
Oh,
And hopefully I will join you
yeah.
next year. And
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us.